How's it going? All right, Chris Sams here. I'm so glad to see people here still engaged and active in the discussion here. We're just thrilled today to have Martin Kubeka join us from Deloitte. Deloitte is a partner, as you saw on the placard here in the middle, and Martin brings a wealth of experience in the GRC space, and he's going to talk about the future of risk management. I really wanted him to talk about his vacation, though, because somehow he figured out how to get a month off in October, and he was in the French Polynesian Islands. But the GRC Summit won out, and he's going to be talking about the future of risk. So, Martin, come on up here. And just a little bit about Martin. He has over 20 years of background in risk management. He's a green belt when it comes to Lean Six Sigma. He also is a certified implementer for ISO 27001. So if you've got any questions about that, I'm sure he'd be glad to answer those for you. And Deloitte has a fantastic practice in Central Europe where they've developed a center of excellence to be able to support their customers in EMEA accounts, and has had good success in banking, automotive, insurance, and energy. So we've got a subject matter expert up here, and thank you, Martin, for sharing your expertise with us.
Perfect. Thank you, Chris. It's really a pleasure to be here, and at the same time the honor. And also I want to thank you that you find time and you came and you are basically spending this time with us, with me. And I wanted to make this as much interactive as possible. So if you know Slido, it's a web server. So if you use your mobiles, just type in slido.com. And if you are using event code DGRC, then there will be a couple of questions that I would like to know the answer to those. I will tell you when is the right time to respond to the questions. I was thinking a lot what to tell you, and always I'm trying really to share as much experience as possible and to be as practical as possible. We have seen like a lot of really nice presentation, like futuristic approaches, and a lot of really skilled people that are talking about technicalities and future of risk management. With a lot of clients, I'm always wondering how this works and how far did they already get. And as Chris mentioned, we are serving different industries, and maybe like financial sector, which we have also present here, is the most advanced in GRC tooling and in risk management as such. But there are other sectors that are emerging, and they are now really forcing internal controls within the organization to prevent risks, either because there is new regulation that is impacting them, or either because there are some new people in board of directors that have seen some bad things happening in their previous employers, so now they are focusing more on prevention. We are really in Deloitte privileged to serve the clients in several stages of maturity, and I try to put some kind of differentiation. And I tried really to at least describe 5 different steps, which are usually seen as a journey towards maturity and towards implementation or adoption of integrated risk management. On Slido, there will be the question where you see yourself. So I will go only quickly through. The first step is when risk management is emerging. So there is some department, and please, like in banking, it's completely different because no bank can be established without risk department. But there are industries where risk department is not always the case. So at some point, a couple of people decide, most probably on board level or below board level, that they should really look at risks. So this is. And they are trying to really bring or build some kind of risk management foundation. So first they are starting with risk appetite definition. So they want to see like how they compare to the market standard, what their competitors are doing. Of course, they don't want to kill their business by managing risks very closely or like in very details. And they put together some framework. They usually draft some governance. They go to the boards, and to prevent or to manage the risks, they are also setting or defining a couple of controls. Usually Excel is in place, or if they are more advanced, they are using VBA of Microsoft or whatever small automation, if we can even call it automation. And from there, they can say, okay, we have at least some risk management foundation. And yeah, sectors like energy, sectors like life science, healthcare, sectors like telco, they have started this journey maybe a couple of years ago, and they are now advancing as well. And if I'm saying advancing, so the next step is related to advanced methodology, where the risk management topic is much more spread between different departments within company. There is some kind of systematic approach towards mapping, monitoring the risks, towards managing this risk, towards finding the responsible and accountable people. And of course, there is much more controls at this stage, and there is some basic data already available where the companies, which companies can use to manage the data, or, for example, compliance with regulations. Of course, as there is much more controls, they want to automate at least, so they buy within separate departments. For example, in operations, usually in operations there is big number of controls, so they are first looking at some tool that can help them, so they select something for themselves to really save the capacity and to focus on operational work, not on risk management or controls. But once a risk department sees all this, they say, okay, so there is a couple of departments having some kind of automation, they are spending budgets, so maybe it makes sense to see if we can't help them. And usually the response is yes, that they can help them. They can put all the people together, and they can basically talk to them. Maybe they check some magic quadrant somewhere, and then they pre-select a couple of vendors, seeing, okay, so this is available on the market. And at this stage, they are reaching to metric stream as well, most often, thanks to great position in several of those quadrants. So they are talking about platform. So that's like the third stage called platform approach. And this stage is something that most of you is at least considering, because you are on a conference of metric stream. So in this stage, it's about having much more use cases. It's not only about controls, it's about compliance with a lot of stuff in IT risk, for example, in audit, regulatory compliance, regulatory adherence. So there is much bigger number of use cases, and this is like one of the arguments how to persuade like board of directors to invest. More departments you have, bigger the budget can be, because you have more voices to really put pressure on this type of investments. Usually at this stage the risk is already divided between 3 lines of defense, or sometimes even companies don't know that those are 3 lines of defense, but they understand that there are some controls embedded in operations. There is some second level who is checking randomly on some sample basis, and there is like audit, because they need some kind of independent assessment if they are going the right direction. And what is also like one of the specific traits that there is centralized issue management. So they already trying to put all the issues together from the entire company, and they see, okay, There is a lot of things in there. We don't know what's the status, how the risk is managed, and it's not an exception that for one risk there is like 5 action plans, so they are spending 5 times on the same risk and no one is really coordinating. And all this is then helping them to persuade the decision makers that platform is needed, and they are saying that yeah, you will save money because you will tackle one risk only once, because people will not do it in Excel, so they will just have automated controls, automated questionnaires, and it will be much easier. So and at this stage, the platform is in game, and customers are really trying to push as much things to the platform as possible. Maybe the step to the 4th stage is like more complex, and it's definitely more complex from what we are seeing when the platform becomes to be operational. There is integrated risk already managed. There is integrated kind of reporting. There is a lot of data that can be analyzed, so some kind of data analytics are in place, and departments are cooperating much better. So if there is an issue, everyone can see what's the issue, and there is no doubling of issue or action plans. There is one responsible person, and at this stage we are saying, okay, that silos are distracted, or at least there is a direction that silos will be distracted at some point. And of course, much more people is using platform as such, so there should be really efficient management on roles and access rights, and much more people will be aware that risks are managed. So this is important stage. And like the final stage, which is not really defined because it's never final with risk management. A lot of things are coming up every day, but we say that status quo is implemented. We have covered everything what was in the past, and now we are focusing on what's coming from today. It's very important if we are managing risk. We know that at this stage it's fine, but there are processes related to new products, new processes, new systems. So, and the change management is then like key. It's really a key risk factor that really brings new risks to companies, and this is crucial to be able to manage risk within change management. Of course, there is already even too much data, so AI, AML, or maybe metaverse is in the minds of people in the relevant departments. And of course, we touched this yesterday, that maybe even 3 line of defense don't have sense anymore, so people are reconsidering what's next, and if it really makes sense to divide between 3 lines. So this is like, it's definitely not like complete overview or complete description of these stages, but if you can somehow check on Slido where you see like your company compared to this maturity level, if it's, because we really experience that companies, even with very basic risk management, are, especially new modern companies, are checking vendors and are checking tools. So it's not that they really need to start with the platform. They want to start with small use cases, but they are already foreseeing the future, and they are foreseeing what comes next, and they want to be prepared. So I don't know if we can put up the results on the screen. Is it possible? we have any. It's getting there. Yeah. So there is, yep. So 50%, you can see it just down there, 50% of respondents saying we have risk management foundation. 10% are saying that there is some kind of platform advanced methodology, and then 35% are saying that they already have platform approach. So, and thank you for 20 responses. So it's quite a nice picture that GRC tooling is not only for those that are on the platform stage, but it's also for those that are starting with foundation of risk management. And it also like reminds me, and it will a bit support like my main idea that will come quite soon, that it's really nice to talk about artificial intelligence and machine learning and metaverse and all these like advanced technologies, but as you can see, a lot of companies are not there yet. They are really starting with basics. And this is also what we see when we are really helping our clients, that multi-million or multi-billion companies, they are spreading internal controls in Excel, and they are receiving 30,000 responses that they are processing inside some tool made on their knee. So really, the market or the opportunities for GRC are still there and are emerging much more. Okay, so, and yep, this is really to show you maybe what are all the options. So if you get to integrated risk management, what you can have. And I will not go through the details, but you can see that there is a lot. So all these things, if you are able to implement, at some point it will take years and it will take big budgets. So if this is like the holy grail, then you have to be really prepared that it will be really costly. And it looks like small things, but maybe every term that you see there means quite a lot of work. And we are talking about basically risk management people involved and drafting these topics. And this really gets me to the question, and I don't know if you can run the second poll on Slido. So why we are doing all this? So why you don't want to invest, you want to invest, and why you want to spend millions on risk management? So what's your motivation? Like for risk management departments, it's quite easy. For boards, there can be some other motivation. For users, so who are you considering when thinking about doing this? So who are the main stakeholders? Yeah, maybe we can also switch to the result. If we have any. Yep. So it's really nice. Yeah, it was there. There were 3 responses. Now we have 10. We have board, customers, suppliers, customers, board, CRO, expectations, board, risk thinkers, business leaders, potential customers, employees, controls, first-line users. So it's really bunch of different stakeholders that are present in a bank or entity or whatever company we are talking about. And the question is how much they are involved, how much they can influence what you are doing, what you are implementing, and how much what you are implementing really helps them. So this is the question that I'm usually asking clients or our partners when we are doing the implementation. And we get to the response that not much, that those persons are not really involved. They have some expectations, they describe these expectations, but then the implementation is usually with risk team. Risk team, I don't know if it's there is CRO, so CRO is saying to the risk team about his expectation or her expectations, and risk team is doing what they have to do, right? Because they are risk team. Very often we are then forgetting those people that are over there and for whom we are really doing all this. And for risk management, and this is really something that I want to share, that GRC tool should help people to understand the risk. So any GRC journey should be human-centric. Because even if you have like perfect reports, if you can prevent a lot of things, if you have like vulnerability that you tackle this minute, it always will be about that person that is analyzing it, that is, I think we were checking or we were talking about accepting the risk. So if the people that are accepting the risk, they don't understand risk management, they don't understand what they are accepting, they just need to have their job done. They need to adjust something in the system. They don't want to really focus on risks. So every implementation should really be focused on people. And this is what very often clients are really losing on the way. They are so much then into reporting about risk matrices, about organization, that they are forgetting that this is for people. So, like, there is some kind of parallel for these 5 steps, and it's parallel related to like awareness, because the company that is managing the risk the most efficient way is the one where all employees are really aware. Maybe they don't have so many tools, they don't have so nice reports, they don't have the information about vulnerability immediately, but they know what they have to do. If they are creating new process, new product, new business, they are considering the risks. I used to implement new business development procedures in a bank, and it was really a pain because there was, for example, in payments department, they had to create new payment card, but no one wanted to discuss with risk or compliance if the card should look like this or this. But step by step, they understood. And once the card was implemented, and there was a group of people who found the vulnerability, and they were basically able to authorize the card. The amount was up to 50 crowns, so it's 2 euros, but they were really doing it repeatedly. So for a bank, it was like 1 million euro loss. And it was only because the new product was designed, but no one really discussed with risk department about potential errors and vulnerabilities. So this is what is for me important, that we go not only on the technical side, the one that is below, but also on the side that you can see above. And how to do it? It's really that the GRC implementation should be always human-centric and human-focused. And the risk culture, it should help to embed risk culture within the company, whatever company it is, big, small, whatever industry it is. So for me, the GRC platform, with all these perfect technical abilities, should first be seen as an enabler, not only for risk department, but also for these people who are holding the risk at the end. So they should be able to understand why the platform is there, what in platform can be done, and how they can use it. And it means that during the implementation, they should be part of it. They should understand, and they should give at least their opinion. And I think everyone or majority of you will agree that to go to business from risk department, it's not an easy task. And to really have some kind of valuable feedback. But that's why I'm saying that it has to be feedback oriented. We need those users from the beginning. The tool has to support automation and simplification. This is like one of the premises why the tools are being implemented. So, and we could see that it's quite basic functionality and can be, of course, much more complex, but the basic functionality is there. And we were discussing a lot these days about the data and automation and reporting, and the platform, I think they mentioned in Euphrates we have 200-something connectors, right? So if you can imagine if you receive data from 200 or like 50 different sources, that you have really to be careful about what you show to whom, if it's really something that what they need, and they use the platform only for what they need to know and what they need to do. And the data should be then really translated or adjusted and provide really understandable and simple result. So simple enough, it will be the next stage after like big enough. So with data, really, we have to be careful. I was part of a couple of RFPs where the final decision was based on user interface. I was surprised, but some companies really understood that if people like to log in and to see what's coming from the screen, they will be much more willing to accept the new tool and use it. So, and this is also for metric stream, that user interface is very, very important for the clients. Of course, like rules and laws are imposed, so those are forced. So that's why usually compliance departments and risk departments are also forcing, because they have no other option. But if you are talking to the stakeholders in the right way, then they should see it as an offer, and they are then much more willing to accept what they are supposed to do, and it will definitely support the risk culture if we explain them what the risk is about, and that it's not only about doing controls and spending time on something that they don't understand or they don't want to do. So for all this, the platform project or program can be used, and there is a lot of added value in all the technicalities, but the biggest added value, and I don't have it measured, and I think it's very hard to measure, but if people are risk savvy, they don't need so many specific reports and detailed automated controls. So at the end, it can be much more valuable to invest into cultural change than to invest into really advanced topics. And yeah, like every company should be like entrepreneurial, inquisitive, innovative, analytical. So this is how the tool should be sold to the business and should be showed to the business. So this is basically the main message, that we shouldn't never forget humans that are behind and they will use the tool and that will have to tackle action plans, issues, business continuity plans or incidents. So Yep, this is it basically from my side. I don't know if there are any specific question. I think the time is okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you so much for the presentation. And if you have questions, by all means, raise your hand. I have a question for you. You talked about the human component, how important that is to a GRC rollout. How do you what have you seen in terms of best practices in getting other executives engaged? So the risk officer or the compliance officer bringing other executives in the organization along?
Yep. Like, it's question of language usually. So it's completely different when our senior consultant is talking to the guy and around the topic that they have seen it within some other company, or if it's like technical guy configuring the workflow talking to them. So it's really the language and understanding. So even if you have like best technical people, and we saw it with different clients, they will configure and adjust the tool based on what the requirements are. But this shouldn't be really the goal of the company. If they want to have integrated tool, they have really to think, and there should be someone who is steering all this and who is understanding basically. And this technical guy is not. So it's really the language and the knowledge that you have to have.
That's awesome feedback. Any questions from the group in here before we move to break? Well, if not, then I think, are we at a point? We are, Sunil?
Yeah, thank you very much, by the way.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.